Hello, and welcome to the Ideal Forever Partner Magnet podcast, the show where we explore the infinite benefits of creating the relationship of a lifetime, attracting our ideal forever partner like a magnet, and living our best life as the highest and best version of ourselves. I'm your host, Arell Holloway. I'm the results coach, fitness expert, former real estate investor, and founder of UTAIY, Unveiling the Angel in You, and the World Impact Compound Movement. This podcast is for overachievers and romantics that never learned the art of love relationships. That was me. Anyone wanting to improve their relationships and receiving and having, as well as giving unconditional love. And the biggest impact I can make in someone's life is to teach them how to manifest their ideal forever partner. So with this podcast, I'm dedicating to help souls around the world wake up to who you really are and what you really want in life, helping you on your path of learning about unconditional love by creating significant epic relationships that generate happy memories. I used to work because I was going at it and it felt amazing to be great at something. I eventually got good at choosing the work I wanted to do, and I excelled at it and threw myself into it. You see, I was not great at everything. Most people are not. But the thing I stunk at was relationships. I didn't understand them, and I had to work so hard to even make them somewhat passable or adequate in some fashion. I grew up not learning about relationships because my parents sucked at them too. I think one of the only things they had in common was that they sucked at relationships. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing my parents. In fact, I know that they did the best that they could because they were not taught about relationships by their parents and about love. When one generation passes down a flaw, then guess what? The next generation gets the benefit of that flaw until they figure out that doesn't belong there. I do, however, believe in truth, and I can't tell a true story if I don't share the truth. Wouldn't you agree? Also, if I don't share the truth that you can relate to, then I'm just taking up space. Relationships were alien to me. I had to figure out how to have relationships because of the work at the Department of Defense where I was working for that time. No one wants to work with someone that can't get along with everyone else. I know I'm stating the obvious, but believe me, it was a problem for me. So if I couldn't figure out how to have relationships with coworkers for starters, well, then I had to figure out how to look like I was capable of relating or getting along with coworkers. I finally figured out how to do this, but I have to tell you, this took a tremendous amount of work and energy. Not because that is what relationships require, no, because I went about it all the wrong way. It was forced and not genuine. Once I mastered that, though, I ventured out to learn to do the same with creating friends. This was very different than building a facade relationship with coworkers. Coworkers didn't get too personal, so there was always a wall that everyone had up at different degrees. But this personal relationship business, holy crap. I finally got to learn to find things I could tolerate that a friend might have in common with me, and we could launch our friendship. Around this time, I decided to leave the Defense Department and go into a business for myself. I had started weight training about 6 months ago, and my body was like a muscle magnet. A gym goer took me under his wing, showed me the ropes and how to maximize my work in the gym and maximize my growth. He was a competition bodybuilder, and I appreciated his mentality and mentoring. To give you a little background, I was raised in Germany at a young age. I was a gymnast and a speedrunner, and even participated in the Junior Olympic Games. My build was super dense and muscular. When I started weight training, my body exploded to the point that I was literally plagued by gym goers while I was working out on what I was taking, doing new that was making my body change so quickly right in front of their eyes and mine. I wanted nothing to do with them and just to focus on my own muscle gain, of course. And I couldn't really relate to them. This pestering became so persistent, literally, that I finally caved in and told someone that I would coach them on how to get more muscular. I did some studying on how to train someone, what to charge, etc., but mostly I replicated what I did with myself in my workout. It was super easy for me to, because for the first time, I combined my knowledge with the relating of one person on the basis of work. I know what you're thinking. This is a work relationship, but I got points for it and I'm counting this one, damn it. In fact, this training went so well that I added 5 more clients to my evening after the Department of Defense, after working all day there. I would go to the gym and then train my clients. Pretty soon, my income for personal training coaching was the same as my Defense Department job, and I was working less hours. That fact and that I hardly had the energy to work out myself anymore pushed me over the edge to decide to leave the Department of Defense and pursue coaching full time. Super scary, I know. But this was the first time in my life that I followed my intuition and it paid off big time. I have a confession. I never really cared much about making friends or relating to coworkers. Now I learned a new way to relate to my coaching clients, and I felt comfortable for the first time in my life with other people, which is huge for me. This was just me starting small to work up to what I really wanted. What I sincerely wanted and what eluded me was creating a romantic relationship with someone I was attracted to and vice versa. I could create high level success at work, but my lack of being able to create a meaningful romantic relationship was so foreign to me, although I despised or desired this greatly. This desire seemed to increase greatly the more successful I became. When I sat down to figure out why I couldn't enjoy my wins in my profession, I realized that after my wins, I really wanted someone I cared about to share it all with. This left my wins hollow and unfulfilling. I realized that my life was greatly out of balance and had to figure out eventually how to keep my whole ship from capsizing, so to speak. I saw other people have marriages and be in committed relationships that were loving, like it's the easiest and the most natural thing in the world. I tried to have such relationships, but they seemed foreign to me and awkward. I built up anger and rage within me to the point where one day I was so angry over nothing I can even remember today that I picked up a 17-inch box monitor and I hurled it across the room. For those of you that don't know what a box monitor is, before flat screens came out, all monitors or TVs were box shaped and super heavy. That 40 pounds or so monitor went sailing across the room and out of the glass sliding door of my 37th floor high rise apartment in Atlanta. Yep, you heard me right. The glass doors were open and it glided toward my. Yep, you heard me right. The glass doors were open and it glided toward my balcony's edge. I remember time just stopping. It seemed, and I knew that my life was about to change dramatically. There were only 2 scenarios here. Scenario 1 was the monitor going over the balcony and falling 37 stories onto the valet circular drive below and killing anyone it landed on or near. I had the shocking realization that I could be the cause of hurting or killing another human being. out of my stupidity, anger, and rage, which surely would land me in prison or worse. Scenario two was the monitor not going over the balcony, and that is what I focused on because one was an acceptable option in my mind. By the grace of God, the monitor hit the balcony rail, made a loud crash, ending its journey on the concrete balcony in pieces. This was my rock bottom. It had to be. I was not willing to go down any further than this. I knew one thing: nothing would be the same after this. The next day, I sought out psychological help. I hired a psychologist and I went to him once a week. When that didn't seem to work, I hired a psychiatrist in addition to the psychologist that I saw once a week on top of my psychologist. 6 months later, I was no better off, and I didn't feel like I was getting the help that I needed. Heck, I wasn't even sure if these doctors knew what the problem was, to be perfectly frank. During one of my coaching sessions with one of my Atlanta trust fund babies, Alfred noticed that I was preoccupied and asked what was wrong. It just came out of my mouth without me thinking. I told him that I just had all this anger and rage within me, and I had been seeing two professionals weekly for over 6 months, and they weren't helping much at all. Alfred mentioned that he had been seeing a spiritual mentor coach for the last 2 years. That he was going to for some issues he was dealing with, and recommended I go to see her. I told him I was already seeing two psychiatrists and psychologists weekly. What made him think that she could even help me when they haven't been able to even thus far? Alfred got real quiet. He said, "She saved my life." Oh, wow. Okay. That was the best recommendation I had ever heard anyone give anyone. So I thanked him and I made an appointment with her immediately. I recall walking into her office about a week and a half later for the first time, and the loving smile on her face greeted me like I was her long lost friend, and we were finally united. I literally felt that she loved me from the moment that she laid eyes on me, and I had never experienced anything like this. We got acquainted for a few minutes, and then she asked me, "So, what brings you here today?" I shared that I had all this anger and rage within me, and I was no longer able to control it, and I had to take back charge of my emotions. She said, "Anger comes from not being free to say, 'I want.' Rage comes from not being free to say, 'I don't want.'" I'm not sure I fully heard what she was saying. Heck, I know I didn't hear what she was saying. In my frustration of not understanding what she was saying, I said, "Well, what do I do about this then?" She sat up at the edge of her wingback wicker chair and said in a slightly raised voice, "Make up your mind that you're free to say, 'I want.' And make up your mind that you're free to say, 'I don't want.'" So it took me months and years to be able to hear everything she was saying to me. You see, when we are programmed by our parents or someone that raised us, we are additionally charged with guarding our own program, no matter whether it is excellent or imperfect. Our program is our mind's operating system and becomes our modus operandi, or our way of doing things. Additionally, we train ourselves to reinforce our program and not listen to anything that contradicts it. Are you listening to me here? Are you hearing me? You, yes, you heard me right. And all these implications that go along with what I just said and this idea, and it's all worth exploring. At some point in our life, we come to the stark realization that some things in our program don't work or are not aligned with what we actually want to create in our life. You see, our program is intended to be aligned to our goals and dreams so we can create everything we want in our lifetime. This is the time to change our program, which can be difficult. A very difficult thing to do when we have been protecting and defending it for years. It can be difficult, but not impossible. It just takes training on how to change our program. After 8.5 years of working with my spiritual mentor, I was able to create warm and unconditionally loving romantic relationships. With the teachings I learned with and since her mentoring, I built up an arsenal of trainings and techniques that enable anyone to rewrite their program to manifest all of your goals and dreams by shedding the onion peel of walls we build around ourselves to protect us, but which ultimately make us our own prisoner. All this work led me to even pursue writing a parenting book that is still in production and coming soon. This is my attempt to cut the flaws off before they pass down to the next generation, allowing our children to live a happy life while pursuing their goals and dreams without blocks placed there by parents. I have several things on this that are powerful and effective to allow you to become a master and reprogramming your mind to allow with manifesting all of our goals and dreams. If that interests you, then shoot me a private message. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please rate, review, and subscribe to the Ideal Forever Partner Magnet podcast. Your support helps us reach more souls in search of their unconditional true love. Check us out everywhere podcasts. Remember, you have the power to create heaven on earth through unconditional love. This is your life, no one else's. Grasp the courage to strive for the highest and best version of you and live your best life. Thank you for joining me on this epic journey.